Renzo, for this week episode, I actually chose the topic I want to discuss first and then the expression.
I find that's a good formula. It really leads to something really interesting. So I can't wait to hear what's the topic.
Okay. No, actually, I'm going to start with the expression.
Okay, never mind.
Jugarse el pellejo.
Ah.
How would you translate that?
I love this one because literally translated, it's one of those that makes very little sense. To play your own skin?
Yes,
literally.
Jugarse el pellejo.
That's right, because jugarse is reflexive. So if you go really literal, is play your own skin. But now that you've heard that, it makes sense to kind of think about it in terms of putting your skin on the line. That's the closest that I can get to the English equivalent, which, as you know, is to put your life on the line, or to risk life and limb.
Or to risk something very important.
Exactly.
But before we move forward to the topic I want to discuss with you, because it's a really controversial topic and I really don't know where I stand. I kind of agree with both sides, even though I do know where I stand. But I agree with both sides, if that makes sense.
Las dos caras de la moneda.
Yes, exactly. Expression we have discussed here before.
Right.
Before we jump to the topic, let's introduce this show.
Oh, yes. I think if anybody's coming in for the first time, they'd be a little lost right now. So you're listening to Just a Spanish Phrase, a podcast where we explore the origins and uses and cultural significance of common Spanish idiomatic expressions.
And we are the companion podcast of News in Slow Spanish. In News in Slow Spanish, 100% of our content is in Spanish,
Yes.
Unlike here where I'm stumbling with my English today. I don't know why. And in News in Slow Spanish, we have two versions, Spain and Latino, and we have two gigantic catalogs of idiomatic expressions where we explain the expression and the use of the expression, and we use it in Spanish.
That's right. So to hear these expressions, or expressions like this one, used in real conversations in Spanish, head over there, newsandslowspanish.com. But here, we're going to have some fun. In English, let's dive into this expression, which again is jugarse el pellejo. It's kind of like saying to put your own skin on the line. As you said, to basically take a big risk.
Take a big risk. And here's the topic. And it's actually a topic that we discuss in News in Slow Spanish as well, which is the Winter Olympics. These Ukrainian athlete who se jugó el pellejo because he risked something, because knowing that the Olympic Committee is very strict in forbidding any type of political statement, he still just wore a helmet with images of all the Ukrainian athletes. Some of them used to be friends of his who actually died in the war, who were killed in the war. Some of them were in the line of fire. Some of them were just minding their own business, and then a bombardment or a bullet reached them. And he wore that as a helmet. And there was a big controversy because the Olympic Committee said, hey, listen, you cannot wear this helmet. If you want, you can wear like a black, how do you call this thing you put in your...
Oh, a black band, an armband. Yeah. As a statement of support for the fallen. Yeah.
So he knew he was jugándose el pellejo when he made that political statement. And he said, no, I'm still going to do it. And then the Olympic Committee decided to disqualify him. And he could have earned some medals, and he still said, sorry, guys, my colleagues, friends, athletes, they se jugaron el pellejo. And they really risked their life. I mean, they lost their life.
That they took an even bigger risk than me. I'm just making a statement with this helmet. Meanwhile, they lost their lives.
So what he said is like, yes, okay, I lost the possibility to earn an Olympic medal, but that's nothing compared to losing your life. So I love how he took a stand and he said, sorry, Olympics are important, but they're not as important as human lives. So I stand with him. It's like I not stand with him. I admire him. It's like that was a very
Courageous, right?
courageous
Yeah.
act. Really, se jugó el pellejo. On the other hand, I understand the Olympic Committee. This is trying to be apolitical. If you allow the smallest political statement to be a part of it, then it's going to go out of control. Where do you draw the line?
I see.
So
right.
what do you think?
That's an interesting point. I was surprised at first to hear you say that you understood the side of the Olympic Committee, because I had an assumption, and I'll explain that in a minute. But now that you've said how it can be a slippery slope if you allow some forms of political activism, then where does it stop? And then where does it defeat or harm the spirit of the event, which is to be an apolitical, purely athletic competition where athletes from every country can come and compete separate from their political implications. Because, as you know, there are many conflicts in the world at any given time, and still countries will come and put those things aside and compete. Now, there's a very glaring exception, which is relevant to this example, because Russia, as you know, is not allowed to compete. Russian athletes are not allowed to compete representing Russia. They are independent, neutral athletes, I think is the denomination, something like that. And so they can compete under this denomination, but not with their Russian, if they're Russian athletes, with the Russian flag. So those medals, if they win any, do not count for Russia. Okay, but very quickly, I might be mispronouncing this, but the athlete in question that you are talking about, a sledder, is Vladislav, I'm going to try to pronounce this, Heraskevich.
That's why I didn't pronounce the name.
Because me jugué el pellejo.
Yes, you're jugándote el pellejo.
I took a big risk
it.
to pronounce it, and I hope I got it right. But it is an interesting situation. I understand the controversy. Do I agree with the IOC's decision to prevent? No, not entirely. I have to say, I'll take a stand, obviously not as courageous as what this athlete did, but I disagree with the decision to ban him and disqualify him from winning any medals, because we already know, they can say that they're apolitical, but we already know that there's at least one country banned from representing itself at the Olympics right now, Russia, because of their invasion of Ukraine. And we have been listening this whole few weeks of the Olympics so far to athletes make political statements, notably the American athletes who have spoken up against the Trump administration and the immigration efforts with ICE and Border Patrol. Those are all political statements, but they're still allowed to compete.
You're right. With that's a good argument. That's a good argument, because any athlete who makes a political statement se está jugando el pellejo and is risking being disqualified, but still they only disqualified
this athlete. And I think, honestly, it shows a bit of a double standard and a lack of bravery on the part of the IOC, because they're probably taking this hardline stance against this athlete for this action with the helmet to not anger Russia more. They've already disqualified Russia from competing officially, not Russian athletes, but the country. And I think they're probably trying to play it safe with Russia. That's what I think.
So the committee doesn't want to jugarse el pellejo.
Mm-hmm.
That probably boils down to it.
Yeah. Okay, now very quickly, jugarse el pellejo. Why do we say that? In English, we say risking life and limb, which makes sense, right? If you do something so risky that you might lose your life or might lose a limb, that means it's a big risk. But why in Spanish do we say skin?
And not even skin. Pellejo is almost like a saggy skin. It's almost like animal skin, because it's not jugarse la piel,
right,
which is skin. It's jugarse el pellejo, which is like
yes,
different.
And I had a hard time digging this up, because apparently it goes way, way, way back. And I mean that pellejo as a symbol for the body itself or the life itself is ancient, before history itself. And I think the most intriguing or compelling theory that I was able to find when doing my research is that it goes back to skinning like an animal for its pelt, for its pellejo. When you kill an animal and you use it for food, you also would keep the skins and tan them and make leathers and make clothing and make furs. And often these furs, these skins, these pellejos would be kept almost whole, right? So you would have an outline of the animal.
Wow, okay.
And so that is how pellejo, the removed, preserved skin of an animal, symbolized the whole, symbolized the life that was lost to create this skin. So it's a very abstract, very old tradition of using that word, pellejo, to symbolize the life that it represented before.
Very good. This became gory very fast.
It often does. But that's what we do. We take risks on this podcast. Nos jugamos el pellejo.
And we are taking the risk of going a little bit over time. So I think it's time to say goodbye.
Yes.
And until next week, thank you again for joining us.
Hasta la próxima.
Adiós.